Thank you again for your cooperation. And I would like to just state our position regarding our differences with the IPC report, which has been hurriedly being publicized on the 23rd of December during the Christmas time, which was an awkward time to us. We didn't thought that such a kind of report would be released, and also it has been published, supplied to the media outlets before even officially the government of Sudan has responded to its results. So the federal and the state technical working groups were unable to update the integrated phase classification analysis issued in December 24, in addition to the lack of agreement of the above-mentioned working groups on the results of the analysis and data verification mentioned in the report. Due to the security conditions and the siege imposed on some of the areas referred to in the report, the technical working groups were unable to move to collect data from state localities, especially Darfur, Al Jazeera, Kordofan, and Khartoum states. The lack of means of movement and the interruption of communication services and other also limited the quality of the report and its reliance on it as a primary source to reflect the food security situation in Sudan. Due to the ongoing conflict and the war of aggression and the challenges of restricting movement and the siege of some areas, the federal and state working groups relied in the data collection processes on the use of phones and social media, such as WhatsApp, whenever available in the state, and the analysis process was done virtually. So there is a large gap in the information contained in the IPC report on the state, in the status of food security, and in the analysis of its data, due to the lack of accurate statistics and real figures on the number of people in each locality and the state, due to the continuous changing dynamics of displacement of people inside Sudan, due to the aggression of the militia, the destruction of infrastructure and also institutions related to measuring food security indicators by the militia, such as the Bank of Sudan and others, led to the failure to obtain economic and social indicators for the population in time. The analysis and conclusions were not conducted in the required manner, as the results of the analysis depended on the consensus of the technical working groups. So the state and federal working groups did not collect and analyze any type of data on the health and nutrition in states. So we said the report of the crop and food security assessment missions was not completed. At least it will be completed on the second week of January. And we told the IPC to wait. And they didn't. They're hurriedly rushing to declare Sudan as a famished country. So the Ministry of Agriculture and Forestry issued on December 24 their statement. Hence, the report did not conduct any surveys, any assessment on crop productivity for the summer rainy season, which is between June and November 24. This season is very important in terms of vast cultivated areas, so 16 million hectares. Besides, 80% of farmers in Sudan are engaged in this season. The most essential food security crops, which is sorghum and millet, are mainly produced in this rainy-fed season, so which constitute the staple food for more than 60% of the population. In our estimation, it is a successful season by all standards. We reject any report on food security that does not conduct updated data on nutrition and malnutrition, because these are the strongest indicators of hunger and famine. We have serious concerns about the methods of the ground data collection. There are 7 states under the control of the militia, which will not allow the ground survey team to enter. And therefore, the data collected will be specific to only 11 states and not to Sudan as a whole. So there is no consensus or is agreement on the definition of the word hunger, and hence the criteria of this hunger and or famine. I mean, the definition of hunger or famine and its indicators, or how to estimate it, is known to everyone. But what some do not know is that these criteria or indicators are not suitable for all societies and all conditions. Sudan acknowledges that there are those who suffer from food insecurity due to the war of aggression, not due to a lack of food, but due to the difficulty of delivering this food to the affected areas controlled by the militia, which obstruct deliberately the access of food to the affected people in those areas, although the policy of the government is not to withhold access to any areas, even those areas under the control of the militia. So there are said, why are 12 million displaced people are not being helped, even though they are located in safe areas? So some organizations want to conduct the report because it is a condition maybe for the donors, although we know that its data will be incomprehensive and will not represent all of Sudan, but rather less than 40% of the communities affected. In fact, some organizations are seeking to declare famine in Sudan, perhaps to help collect funding. So these repercussions worry, or are really very worrisome, because first, they undermine our legitimacy and sovereignty and will allow the flow of weapons and equipment and mercenaries across the borders controlled by the militias, and the greater concern is that the war will continue. And not only in Sudan, but also in the region as a whole. So Sudan cannot be classified as being at risk of famine, as it is one of the largest agricultural countries in the region, rich with its natural resources, and accordingly, the Republic of Sudan has announced that the suspension of, its membership in IPC committee due to the issuing and this unreliable report that we have challenged in the Security Council. So there is finally some technical requirements for declaring famine were not met. For example, according to the international standards adopted to declare famine in any country or region, the following must be available: conducting joint technical surveys to determine the food and nutritional status according to the food security phase classification indicators, according to a bottom-up system from the village level, then the administrative units, then the localities, then the concerned states, and then at the national level. So providing survey results confirming that 20% of the population of the country in question falls into the fifth phase of the food security phase classification, which is the worst phase that requires a lack of food availability and inability to access to food, and an inability to use food according to specific technical forms, and this did not occur in Sudan. 30% of children confirmed to be severely malnourished, including children under 5 years of age. And the government shall adopt a joint report with the organizations participating in the food security phase classification surveys during a specific year, provided that the report classifies or clarifies what is known as the technical consensus for making the decision to declare famine in a country. Establishment of famine review committee, and all these factors have not been met. So if famine is suspected, there is an additional step that requires the famine review committee to classify food security. The committee is made up of five, or should compromise or include 5 globally recognized experts in their fields, from nutrition and health to food security. The committee meets as soon as famine-like conditions escalate, when more than 20% of those affected are in phase 5. Now there are only 1 to 2% are classified under phase 5. That's around 625,000. So the phase 5 of the National Food Security Classification is MEGA, and the fact that catastrophe or famine conditions are prevalent, although we agree that there is a big food gap, but there is no famine as such. Thank you very much.
Ambassador? Thank you, Ambassador Mohammed. It's Margaret Bashir, Voice of America. Ambassador, do you believe that the RSF is using food as a weapon of war in the areas it controls?
Yes, indeed, because actually we have been telling the Security Council frequently, and every time we have a statement, that one of the reasons that has made the food gap to develop is the situation, deliberate stand of the militia to withhold access of food and the convoys of the UN, and sometimes they control them and they own them for their own self. They have refused WFP's convoys to get to Zamzam, and they are shelling Zamzam, Abu Shok, and other, refugees camps. They mean it on daily basis using drones, and they're shelling Al-Fashir on daily basis. It becomes a habit. So the fact that this famine is being sought, and this famine is a kind of a chronicle foretold, is very clear to us.
So, Ambassador, I'm a little confused then, because the IPC report says that the areas where there are famine, the 5 areas, that they are primarily in RSF-controlled areas. So why is the government of Sudan criticizing this report when...
We are not criticizing the report because it mentioned just a partial fact, but because they withheld mentioning many facts. We have mentioned in our statement today before the Security Council. So they said there are 5 at risk of famine, there are other 5 will follow, and there are other 12 areas would follow. But we said they said there are 12 million are actually housed or hosted in schools, and we said they are hosted in a school if this is a reality in safe local areas. Why don't you send the humanitarian assistance to them? The issue is that there is a huge deficiency of the required level of humanitarian assistance. There is a huge level of honoring of the pledges. So, as you know, and this has been said even by the Secretariat today in the report, there is a gap of the financing from the donors regarding the pledges. They did not honor their commitment and their pledges. And this also has exacerbated the position of the food security gap. But actually, if there is any signs of purported famine, this will be due to the recalcitrant position and non-cooperative stand of the militia, that withholding access to the areas that they control, although, as I said, the government policy has always been agreeing to sending the humanitarian assistance to those areas. We do not obstruct them.
Ambassador, we're about 2 weeks away from a new administration in the United States. Do you have any hope that President Trump will get involved in trying to find an end to the war in Sudan, and what would General Burhan like to see him do?
Listen, President Trump has engaged during his first term of presidency very positively with Sudan, and there was actually an arrangement made with his government through U.S. executive and actors, and this also has something to do with the Abrahamic Accords, and we think President Trump is a deal maker. We would be there ready to strike a deal with him. We will be ready there to strike a deal with him. We are not coming to him empty-handed. We have our blueprint to engage with the U.S. at all times.
To strike a deal with him, what, to end the war?
Oh yes, because actually the U.S. is part of Jeddah Forum. It is actually a dual role or a dual diplomatic engagement between Saudi Arabia and U.S. So it remains to be seen when the major parameters of the new foreign policy, American foreign policy, is being what do you call it, publicized, and then we will definitely have, we will be ready to engage and to strike a deal with him.
And what's your blueprint include?
Definitely, it's a big, because actually we are trying to allocate our needs and to define and to assess the previous engagement of the U.S. engagement in the CPA and its drawbacks and its impacts on the security of the Sudan. We have also the 1591, which America is a pen holder, and in Darfur, and we are always clamoring, saying that this resolution 1591 under Chapter 7 is actually affecting the efficient position of the army in Darfur, which deprived the army of taking any arms in order to keep, to preserve or to keep law and order. And this has given all the time, at all times, upper hand for militias to control the area or to upset the security order in Darfur, given that Darfur is one of the richest states in Sudan, including gold and uranium. So we see that the existing scenario of the war of aggression is an attempt to separate Darfur as such. And they even said it, actors of political actors who are opposing the government, in addition to they are having a coalition with the militia, they declare it. So this is why the army is fighting this war of aggression in order to repel aggression and to try to keep the Sudan united. So we would see that it won't be an issue at all for our engagement, what we call positive engagement, and to try to deal with the tripartite, so to speak, double whammy, that we would try to reinvigorate our positive engagement with the US. Any more questions? Satisfied? God bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.